Introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Evelyn. I am the president of the accounting club, and I'm a senior. Ari, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Ari. I'm also a senior, and I'm VP of Membership Recruitment.
And Will.
Hey, I'm Will. I'm a junior, and I'm director of operations and tutoring.
And Crystal.
Hi guys, I'm Crystal. I'm a sophomore, and I'm the treasurer of the accounting club.
Cool. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and get this started. Okay. So, what are you even recruiting for? So, assuming that most of you or all of you are freshmen and sophomores, you will be recruiting for what is called the summer leadership programs that firms offer. And when I say firms throughout the presentation, or any of us say firms, we're mostly referring to the big four accounting firms, as well as two regional firms, specifically that really focus at the University of Michigan, which are Plant Moran and BDO. So the programs differ if you're a freshman versus if you're a sophomore. They're a little bit more limited if you are a freshman. Freshman programs typically are just diversity based, so you're just like putting your toes in the water per se with the firms at this point. On the other hand, the summer leadership programs for sophomores, that would happen. So you're in your sophomore year now. If you're offered a summer leadership program, if you're invited and are accepted after you do your recruiting and interviewing, that summer leadership program typically is just a few days. Back like pre-COVID, we would fly to the office where we wanted to recruit or that we were recruiting for, and like just do events and like see the office and all of that. And as you are learning about that specific firm, get to network and all of these things, this with COVID now, it's most likely going to be something virtual. But once again, the summer leadership program will be only a couple of days this summer for sophomores. And then that summer leadership program has an internship attached to it that you will be doing the summer after your junior year. So this coming summer, it'll be the summer leadership program. And then the following summer will be the actual internship. Yeah, so just like I said, it's just for firms to showcase their culture and like specific benefits and opportunities that they have. And yes, very true. It's Ross students typically get multiple invitations, so meaning multiple offers. So, I mean, it differs for everyone. I personally recruited for all of the firms and just applied to all of the firms and attended all of the firms that I was invited to, just because I was able to get a better sense of the firms. And I mean, like at the end of the day, you want to have a good sense so that you know where you want to have your internship and where you want to have your full-time offer.
All right, so now I'd like to take a minute and walk through what the various opportunities are, what it is, and outline what it is that you're recruiting for. As is not entirely obvious at first, and there's a great deal of variety both within firm to firm and city to city. So one of the first things to know that kind of differs public accounting from some of the other industries that people recruit for at Ross is that you are able to live and work in practically any large or medium-sized city across the US. Just like many other positions, a lot of us want to go to places like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Detroit, but people also are able to recruit for places like Miami, places like Dallas, places like Seattle. So long as if you might have personal reasons, might be where your family's from, there's different opportunities available to you, and it's important for you to know what those are going into it. It's also important to understand what are the different options, as by the time some of the firm presentations roll around, firm presentations are there to walk you through what different jobs look like, but by the time you go there, you want to have a different understanding. So the three broad areas of accounting that you can recruit for are advisory, audit, and tax. And I will include a note at the bottom for internal audit, as a couple people recruit for this directly. So advisory is basically a type of consulting. A lot of people go into cyber risk, or different types of financial advisory. Audit is, I'm not an audit person, so I won't probably give the best description, but it's basically is the process and the creation of monitoring different internal controls and preparing the financial statements throughout the year. And tax is dealing with various types of taxation. The important variations, and it's good for you to realize kind of what your personality might be, as it looks different day to day and month to month, what the type of like workload is like and what the expectations are. Something else that they might not necessarily tell you directly is that for tax, it's very important which group you're in, versus audit is kind of like a blanket team that you're with. And what's more important there is which specific client you're with. As you might imagine, if you are on the audit team for a major Fortune 500 company, if you're on the audit team for Facebook, there's a lot more prestige, potential pay that comes along with it than if you were for like a much smaller manufacturing firm, for example. And it's also important to know, like looking into it, thinking about how long do you want to work in public accounting and what do you want to get out of it. As if your goal is purely to work for, say, like a big tech company, or it's always been your dream to work in automotive because you're from the Detroit area, then it might be in your best interest to pick the firm that has the best automotive clients. As you know, through working with them on the outside, many people will then go into internal roles such as internal audit, FP&A, and various controller positions. So you've got a great deal of flexibility and there's limitless opportunity. And then so I'll also go over how the process begins. As Evelyn said, some of the very first initial events with firms have begun, but basically over the course of January and February of your sophomore year, the different firms will put on a variety of events and presentations for you to attend. This year it does look slightly differently, as there won't be as many like spontaneous opportunities to just go up to a firm's booth inside the Winter Garden. But basically what you should expect to do is attend a presentation by each of the firms. We might also have a variety of networking or just fun firm events. Basic plan with that is you want to get your name in early. You want to build up a relationship with the recruiters. It's very important to announce yourself and also to announce your intentions. For example, if you know initially, like you've got a big dream to work in New York on financial services, then it's your best to communicate that as soon as you can with the recruiter. You can develop relations with them. Recommend going to as many as possible. You do not need to spend the whole time there. You just want to get people's emails, get people's phone numbers, exchange information. Just want to treat the process as a big information problem where your goal is to understand what it is type of work that you would do in the firm, but also some of the subtle differences in culture and expectations and opportunities that will vary from firm to firm.
So hi, everyone. So first, I'm going to touch on how to apply for these summer leadership opportunities. It's really up to you how many companies you apply to, like Evelyn said, but I think we would all strongly recommend to apply to as many as you can, especially the big four and the regional firms, just to have as many opportunities as you can and to find the place that is the best fit for you. An important note is that in the application process, you will need to specify which office you want to intern in and eventually start full-time in as well. I would say it's something to start thinking about now while you're home and kind of have some free time. And then you can definitely feel comfortable asking the recruiter or other firm reps for advice about this during the firm presentations. So then as for the applications, they will be due in mid to late February. They will require basic information about yourself and then also your resume and a cover letter, which is usually optional, but of course never hurts to include. And then of course you also have to specify which city and what service line you're interested in. Typically interviews are in early March, and then you will hear back quickly after that. A cool thing that many of the firms do is that the partner you interview with will call you to congratulate you on the offer a couple days later. So kind of be on the lookout for a phone call from them. And then you can go to the next slide. Okay, so more on the interview process. One of the best things about accounting recruiting is that they are purely behavioral. So there will be no technical questions in the slightest. It's really just having a conversation with them so that they can get to know you better and see if you would be a good fit at the firm. So typically you will have 2 interviews back to back, one with an associate and then one with a partner. From my experience, many of the firm reps that they bring in are alumni of Michigan, which is really nice. So you immediately have common ground with them and something to talk about. In the past, majority of interviews have been in person at Ross, except that EY does HireVue, which is like an online recruiting or online interview process for their first round. And then Deloitte does like a Pyrometrics component. I didn't interview last year, so I haven't had experience with that part. But of course, with COVID and everything, this year is probably going to all be over Zoom. And then lastly, for preparing for interviews, my best advice is just to Google the 20 most typically used questions in behavioral interviews. And with that, have a couple stories in your back pocket to bring up that really represent you as a person. Something I noticed when I was interviewing was that the interviewers like do a great job of kind of prepping you for what kind of question they're going to ask you. So for example, a common question you will get asked is the time that you utilize technology to like solve a problem. But instead of the partner just kind of asking you that question straight up, they'll start with their own personal story about using technology or like ways the firm right now is using technology, so that you have time while like kind of listening to them to formulate your answer to the question. And then lastly, my other advice would be after each interview, write down the questions that the firms ask you, just because many of the firms ask similar questions. So after each interview, you kind of have an idea of what questions they asked. And so then lastly, for preparing for these, of course, we would love if you did our mentorship program. It's just super helpful to make a one-on-one connection with, Will's clapping, with an older student, and they'll be really real with you about the experience. You know, they can tell them, or we can tell you kind of our experience and with like an unbiased opinion, which is really nice. And then also the CDO program does a similar thing, and they have peer coaches who are accounting people who have gone through this before, and you can sign up on their website.
Okay, so once you have all of your offers from all of the firms, because you're going to get all of the firm offers, how do you pick which offer is best for you? So at the end of the day, like, this is going to be so annoying when you attend events and network with people. You're going to ask them, so why did you choose Deloitte? Why did you choose PwC? They're always going to say the people, because at the end of the day, you're going to be doing the same exact work. Like tax is the same thing, audit's the same thing, advisory is the same thing. Sure, there's going to be different intricacies as you're doing them within each firm, whichever firm you're at. But in reality, like this, the main idea is the same thing. So that's why networking is so critical, just as everyone has been saying throughout this presentation. So really, really try. I know that it's kind of difficult in this virtual setting, but just try to get to meet as many people as you can within each firm. Like we can all attest after attending and networking all of these events with firms, each firm has their own like separate little vibe. Like each firm has its own culture and like people that are within the firm. So really just try to like meet as many people so that you can see who and where you feel like you fit in the best.
And now we're ready for any questions. Please feel free to unmute yourselves to ask anything you may have or send them in the chat if you want. You can also email us if you think of anything later. Our email address is listed on there. And if not, you are free to leave. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.